Breaking news out of Pittsburgh. Major moves have just shaken up the Steelers roster, and fans everywhere are buzzing with questions. Who's in, who's out, and what does this mean for the team moving forward? Stick with us because the latest updates might just change how you see the Steelers this season. Tonight, we've got big updates from the Steel City. The Pittsburgh Steelers have officially made 4 roster moves just one day after finalizing their initial 53-man squad. And that's not all. The team has also revealed their complete 16-man practice squad, with a couple of familiar faces making their return. But before we dive into the full breakdown, here's a quick reminder. If you love getting the latest Steelers news first, make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and ring the bell icon. That way, you'll never miss a single update. Now let's move on to the new news. So here's what went down. 2 rookies, quarterback Will Howard out of Ohio State and cornerback Dante Kent from Central Michigan, have been moved to injured reserve to start the season. In their place, the Steelers added Chuck Clark and Max Sharping to the active 53-man roster. At first, it seemed strange that Chuck Clark wasn't on the initial roster, but now it makes sense. The team had to wait until today to officially move Howard and Kent to IR, which opened the door for Clark to step in. That's an important move since the Steelers only had 3 true safeties listed yesterday. Clark brings much-needed depth on the back end, while Sharping helps solidify the offensive line, at least until those rookies can return. On top of that, the Steelers announced their practice squad, filling 16 of the 17 available spots. 8 offensive players and 8 defensive players made the cut, with 1 spot still open for a potential addition. Notably, running backs Trey Sermon and Lou Nichols are back in the building. Both showed flashes in the preseason, and their presence could bring an extra spark to the running back room. And this is just the beginning. Later in the show, we'll touch on some wide receiver rumors that were shot down by insiders earlier today. Plus, Aaron Rodgers had some eye-opening comments about the Steelers' offense and even hinted at a possible connection to Pittsburgh's future. You don't want to miss that. Let's move deeper into the Steelers' roster breakdown, and this part has plenty of names worth paying attention to. On offense, several familiar faces are sticking around. Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, and Kenneth Gainwell headline the group, each securing their spot after strong performances. At wide receiver, Robert Woods returns after the team missed out on Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who ultimately joined San Francisco's practice squad instead. One name to keep an eye on is Cam Williams, the undrafted rookie out of Indiana. He could be a valuable insurance option in the return game if anything were to happen to Calvin Austin. Max Roman, after an impressive training camp, has earned his chance to continue developing here as well. J.J. Galbra, another undrafted rookie, this time from South Dakota, was a surprise standout during the offseason program, and his story in Pittsburgh isn't done yet. For the offensive line, Dylan Cook and Stephen Jones provide much-needed depth, giving the Steelers a cushion in case of injuries. Now shifting to the defensive side, there's an interesting wrinkle here. Julius Welshoff joins the squad as this year's International Pathway player, meaning his spot doesn't count against the standard practice squad total. That gives Pittsburgh flexibility if they decide to add another player down the road. The Marvin Leal, Kyler Baugh, and Beanie Bishop Jr. are also back in black and gold. Bishop, in particular, stood out with some clutch plays last season, and while he didn't make the 53-man roster, his presence on the practice squad feels like a smart insurance policy. James Pierre fits the same category, a veteran corner who knows the system and can be called upon if the depth chart gets stretched thin. Rounding out the unit are Darryl Porter from Iowa, Sebastian Castro, and Deshaun Jameson, young players with upside who could be developed into contributors for the future. But while roster moves grabbed headlines, rumors also swirled earlier today. Steelers insider Mark Kaboly reported on the Pat McAfee show that, for now, Pittsburgh is not actively pursuing a wide receiver via free agency or trade. It's worth noting, though, that Kaboly's track record over the past week has been a little shaky. So while his report says the Steelers are standing pat, it's always wise to keep one eye open, especially when injuries or opportunity can change the landscape in an instant. So where does that leave the wide receiver room heading into the season? For now, the Steelers seem confident in rolling with Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson alongside their top target. Now here's where it gets interesting. Many expected Pittsburgh to chase a veteran wideout, someone like Odell Beckham Jr. or DJ Shark, maybe even explore a trade for Gabe Davis. But instead of making that move, the team is signaling something very clear. They believe in their young guys. Roman Wilson, in particular, is at the heart of this decision. Drafted in the third round out of Michigan, the Steelers didn't use that pick to bury him on the bench. They see him as more than just a depth piece. They see him as a true number two. The kind of receiver who can stretch the field, block in the run game, and consistently win on crossing routes. All the traits that fit Arthur Smith's offensive philosophy. Calvin Austin 3 adds speed and explosiveness as a third option, giving this offense a chance to stretch defenses both horizontally and vertically. Sure, both players are unproven at this level, but Pittsburgh's approach makes one thing clear. They're not interested in renting a short-term veteran at the cost of slowing down Wilson's development. And that's where the pressure builds. The Steelers are in win-now mode. They're not giving Wilson and Austin these roles just for experience. They're counting on them to deliver. Wilson, especially, carries the weight of expectation. He hasn't had the chance to showcase his talent in a full season yet, but the organization's belief in him hasn't wavered. It's a gamble, no doubt, but it's the kind of gamble that could pay off in a big way if Wilson grows into the reliable second option they envisioned on draft night. The question now is simple. Will the young receivers rise to the challenge, or will the Steelers regret not adding a proven veteran weapon? Here's the reality. Roman Wilson won't have unlimited time to prove himself. The Steelers expect him to make an impact early, and if the first half of the season doesn't go his way, the front office won't hesitate to act at the trade deadline, just like they did a year ago. The difference this time? They'll be looking for a true difference maker, someone who can consistently produce alongside their top target. But make no mistake, Pittsburgh wants Wilson to seize this opportunity. He was drafted to be more than a depth piece, and this season is his chance to claim that number 2 role outright. Calvin Austin 3, meanwhile, brings another layer of intrigue. While he may not get the same volume of snaps as Wilson, his skill set makes him a perfect weapon in passing situations. He's quick, elusive, and deceptive as a route runner with better hands than he often gets credit for. His speed forces defenses to respect the deep ball, but he's just as dangerous working underneath or after the catch. Get him the ball in space, and he can flip the momentum of a drive in seconds. Still, when you look at this offense as a whole, wide receivers won't be the only focal point. Arthur Smith's system leans heavily on the run game and makes great use of tight ends. Jonnu Smith will see design touches, and Pat Freiermuth will continue to be that steady, reliable target across the middle. In that framework, Wilson and Austin are less WR2 and WR3 in the traditional sense and more like the fourth and fifth weapons in a balanced attack. And that might actually play to their advantage. Without the pressure of carrying the entire passing game, both can focus on playing to their strengths, stretching the field, creating separation, and punishing defenses that try to key in on the run. If Wilson rises to the challenge and Austin continues to develop, Pittsburgh could find itself with a young, explosive duo that surprises a lot of people this year. But if things stall early, the Steelers won't hesitate to make a bold move at the deadline. Big names are always in play when a contender is pushing for a championship run, and that possibility still looms in the background. Here's what it really comes down to. The Steelers are betting on belief. They believe Roman Wilson has the tools to step into a bigger role, and they're giving him the stage to prove it. If he delivers, Pittsburgh may have found their long-term answer at wide receiver. If he doesn't, the trade deadline gives them a chance to adjust and bring in a proven veteran to stabilize the offense. It's a calculated risk, but one that makes sense. You don't draft a guy in the third round to bury him behind short-term fixes. You draft him to grow into the role, to become a piece of the team's future. That's exactly the opportunity Wilson has in front of him right now. As for Calvin Austin 3, he fits perfectly into the offense as a versatile weapon, a spark plug who can shift momentum in a single play. Pairing his explosiveness with Wilson's potential creates a fascinating storyline for this season. Two young receivers, both unproven, both with the chance to surprise everyone. The Steelers aren't just rolling the dice blindly. They've made their evaluation, they've built their offense around balance, and now they're seeing if these pieces can carry the load. And that's what makes this so intriguing. The future of the passing game could hinge on how quickly Roman Wilson adapts to life as a full-time NFL starter. Pressure? Absolutely. But opportunity is built on pressure. And the Steelers are giving their young receivers the chance to show if they're ready to rise. Now let's turn to Aaron Rodgers, because his recent comments have turned a lot of heads in Pittsburgh. The veteran quarterback spoke this week about the state of the Steelers' offense and even hinted at how he sees his future here. When asked about the offense heading into the season, Rodgers didn't hesitate to express confidence. "I like the guys we've got. I'm excited to see it all come together. People talk a lot about chemistry, but what it really comes down to is communication, being on the same page, doing what's called, and executing. That's what I love about Arthur Smith's offense. It's creative, and we've spent a lot of time breaking down concepts and ideas. I'm enjoying that relationship, and I can't wait to see how it looks in week 1. That's classic Rodgers, direct, thoughtful, and already setting the tone. And when you think about his career, those words carry weight. This is a quarterback who has seen just about every kind of offensive system in the league, from Matt LaFleur's highly innovative schemes in Green Bay to the more traditional West Coast concepts earlier in his career. For him to put Arthur Smith in that creative category says a lot about what Pittsburgh is building. And there are already hints of what's coming. Expect heavy personnel packages, plenty of two tight end looks, and even some unbalanced formations designed to create chaos for defenses. Darnell Washington lined up next to a guard, 2 tackles stacked on the other side. That's the kind of physical, unconventional football Arthur Smith loves to call, and it could give the Steelers a real edge in the run game. Of course, confidence in the preseason isn't unique. Nearly every team in the league feels good about itself in August. But the difference here is Rodgers' perspective. He's seen championship-caliber offenses. He knows what works. And the fact that he's buying in this quickly should energize every Steelers fan. Inside the Steelers' locker room, confidence is running high. Players and coaches alike believe this group has the potential to be special. But belief is only the first step. Proving it against NFL competition is what will define their season. And that brings us back to Aaron Rodgers. For months, the expectation was that 2025 would be his final year in Pittsburgh. But now that narrative is shifting. Instead of shutting the door, Rodgers is leaving it cracked open, hinting that if the right pieces fall into place, a second season in black and gold isn't out of the question. His words were measured but telling. "I signed a 1-year deal, so we'll see how it goes. Obviously, you want to stay healthy, have some success, make a run. That would be really special. Then we'll figure it out come February." So what does that mean? If Rodgers and the Steelers make a deep run but fall just short of a championship, the temptation to return could be overwhelming. Pair that with Cam Hayward's stated intention to play 2 more seasons, and the bond forming between these 2 veteran leaders could play a major role in Rodgers' decision. Imagine Hayward sitting across from him in February saying, "Don't let this be the end. Let's go win 1 more." That's a hard plea to turn down. Of course, there are other scenarios. If Rodgers struggles, if injuries derail the year, or if Pittsburgh actually captures the Lombardi Trophy, his journey might end right there. But if this team finds itself close, within striking distance, Rodgers may just decide to run it back for one last shot. And that's the drama building in Pittsburgh. This season isn't just about chasing wins, it's about shaping Rodgers' legacy, the future of the Steelers' offense, and whether 2025 marks the beginning or the end of his story in black and gold.